The ego is an interesting monster. It's very interesting how when you get into spirituality, people's ego inflates like a hot air balloon. And it goes both ways. Depending on the system that you grew up in, your religious beliefs, your cultural beliefs, your superstitious beliefs, whatever your experiences, this will interweave with your family life and your early childhood experiences. So your belief systems will be formulated by your early childhood. We all understand this, but your religious belief system, how you execute it, will be defined by your personality, right? And then also your early childhood experiences. So the best people for religion are the ones that have been slightly traumatized and they believe that they're unsafe in some way and there's unexplainable things that this particular system can resolve, right? So what happens is the ego, right? The ego says, I made a right decision however long ago with the circumstances that I had. You could have literally been 3 years old and someone gave you a story in a picture book, and that picture book happened to be tied to a religion, or it happened to be tied to Disney. That could be part of your religious system, is how you interact with other beings, because Disney is all about outer world beings, right? You've got lots of magic and princesses and fairy tale lands. So that in itself, if you start to understand Disney and all of the cartoon books you've ever thought about, that you ever read, you watched on television, they are a contributor to your religious system, because it has to do with a world that is not right in front of you. And that world that is not right in front of you does exist, but it only exists how you allow it to exist, right? So all of the programming through all of these particular different entities and all of these things is there's always you as the main character, right? And then you as the main character are in relationship with something, right? So whether you're in relationship with something that's going to provide the answers that you don't know, that could be your Prince Charming, that could be what you understand as Ali, right? The main character of that religion, right? Or Christ, the main character of that religion. It's the same as a romance partner. They're providing things for you that you don't know about, and it's going to make you feel secure. So you are making some sort of commitment to this particular system. So you did this when you were young, because storybooks, right? Or the TV program, they always write the TV program as a main character and then supporting characters. And so you're going to see yourself like the main character, or you're the main character of that thing is your supporting character that is either above you on a pedestal because you think they're great, or your best friend or your romance partner, right? Or possibly beneath you because you are the opposite of that main character, right? You're Dr. Claw instead of Inspector Gadget. So you have to understand where you relate with, and what you relate with depends on how you had an early childhood bringing up. So were you told in your family unit that you were no good and the things that you said were bad and you talk too much and all of these things, then you might consider yourself the villain even though you want to be the hero. But then you realize no one has told you you're the hero, so you just accept these things, right? And if this is the case, then you're going to need extra support and extra help going through all of these things. So here we go. Now we're going to pull in the ego. So the ego is this silent thing that we have that said, when I was young, I made the correct decision. And because you were so young, you held on to that like it was your first favorite cartoon. It holds so much dear and care. You hold on to it as a part of your identity. Right? The same way as if you have trauma when you are a child is the same way you will actually hold on to your belief system. So if you were the fan of Spider-Man, then as you grow up, there'll be parts of your life that you want to be the person behind the mask. You don't want to be seen for your heroism. You are the kind of person that will help people out and you don't want anybody to know about it, right? You have special things that you do for people and you want to hide behind a shell company, or you want to be the one that supports the charity, but you don't want to ever show up and do the build. Depends on who you are. If you're a different character, then you're going to do things differently. So you have to understand a lot of these childhood comics, religions, fantasy land, they're all in the same category in your brain. So the thing is, when you get older, the only fantasy land that you seem is applicable is religion. And you think, okay, well, religion is going to be the thing that saves me. Well, when you were a kid, Dora Explorer was the one that saved you from the treacherous fighting that was going on in your family. And so for you, when you see a picture of Hello Kitty, it's the same thing. That was a positive experience for you. But when you get older, you just kind of push those things aside and you don't think that they're of any substance. But the thing is, they're actually programmed into your brain in the same place as religion is, because it goes into a different frequency of who you are. And it allows you to have imagination, or if you don't have imagination, you allow the character that is in the religion to be your imagination. Okay, well, we'll just allow them. We're going to turn a blind eye to what they're doing, right? You say you're in love with them. So you're going to turn a blind eye and you're going to allow them to do it. This is the same way people end up being in these fantasy love relationships that aren't actually good for them. It's the same thing as a fairy tale. You're blinded to what they're doing. All your friends can see it. All your family can see it. You're blinded to it, though, because they provide some sort of escape for you. They provide some sort of safety for you that you feel like is going to assist you. So this is where the ego gets really crazy. You don't want to let go of these things in order to evolve, because you believe that thing, that idea that you created when you were a kid is still going to be there for you as an adult. But the thing is, it's so deeply ingrained into the subconscious that anytime someone addresses it, you will lash out at them because you're protecting a cherished memory of something that actually helped you when you were young. It's like if you had a doctor that saved your life when you were young, probably that particular hospital will have positive memories and you will be like, I am so grateful for doctors. But then you're going to talk to somebody else that's like, yo, doctors gave me the wrong prescription for like 6 years and you know what I mean? So you have to understand different people are going to have different experiences. And this is the way that we express ourselves in everyday life with our ego. Our basic primal instincts are how we related to our fantasy land when we were a child. If that was a positive thing, if that was a negative thing, was it pre-programmed completely? Like, were you only on certain cartoons and other ones were not allowed? Were you the one that was reading books instead of cartoons? Or were you the one that was forced into religious because that was what, saved your family, was religion, right? So what is the savior? Is the savior religion? And that's the program that you learn to believe. Or is the savior Spider-Man because you needed somewhere to go when things were chaotic and those comics were what made your life better? But the thing is, we bring religion into adulthood. We don't often bring our fantasy land from our childhood into our adulthood. So we don't recognize the patterns that are there. And so we tend to be like, no, but this is just how I am. No, nothing is just how you are ever. When we are small, we make decisions, and that's perfect, but we grow. It's the same way as you are not a teenager anymore. But maybe you still have certain aspects of you that are still acting at a teenage level because you had to push your point, because you wanted to be heard. So you have to now let some of those things go, maybe letting some of, your thoughts on putting the TV on when you're upset, because that's what you used to do when you were a kid. When you're figuring out what to do with your life and your security, you end up in a mosque, or you end up in a house of what you call a master of some sort that you've never met, but it's a fairy tale. If you logically look at things, these are fairy tales that we have believed in and we gave our power to, so they became real, right? We make everything real in all of our reality. So what are you making real? And there's nothing wrong with making religion real. It's a system that is assisting you. You just have to work with the one that is going to give you the more of your personality, the more of your evolution. How do you evolve as a human being effectively with your ego evolving instead of your ego stuck at 3 years old because of whatever happened or because of what you believed in? So it'll depend, like I said again, if you had a traumatic childhood or if you were highly into believing in the fantasy lands. Do you have fantasy land ideas in your adult life? And if you don't, why not? Why do you not have things that allow you to think and expand your mind and memory? Is it because you've farmed it out to a specific religion to do all of the work for you? If that works for you, that's great. But if it's not working for you and you feel stuck, how is the ego within inside of you holding on to these constructs like it is giving you life? The only thing that's ever giving you life is the essence within inside of you that continues to keep you breathing. That is yours. If you let go of everything, you will still have life. So, what is working for you? What is not working for you? The ego will sometimes not be loud. And this is why I'm talking about fantasy land, I'm talking about religion, because this is the quiet ego. This is the thing that you give somebody that very dirty look. Like, do not even give me that question because this is a firm place of my life, right? So you need to see the quiet ego is the thing that gives you the hardest time because you don't question it. Sometimes you'll question being maybe a little too bossy, or maybe you did a little bit too much of this and you're like a little egocentric and you're like, yeah, I'm aware of it. But the thing is, the quiet ego is what you're not aware of. And that's the part in you that defends the things that are not in this reality. And the quiet ego is much more powerful than the visible loud ego. The visible loud ego, you can see it. You can look in the mirror and you can know it. You can be like, yeah, I am arrogant. You can own it, right? But the quiet ego is not something that is easy to own. And it's because it's rooted into this childhood experience that most of us do not live at all anymore. This is why so much of our healing, our psychology, wants us to tap into the inner child, the childhood memories, the early growing stages. The biggest question is, why did we find that it was important to leave that part of us behind? Why? Why did you leave your fantasy land? Why did you leave watching the cartoons? Is it because life got real for you? But life was real then. So what is different now? And these are the things we have to sit down and really tune into when it comes to the quiet ego. Because the quiet ego is also what defines how you experience all things in life. And the quiet ego is something that you just think is who you are. It is your personality. That's just as me. But it's not you. It's a window that you look through to see yourself. You can remove that window and put in something different. You can take out that whole wall and make it a walkway instead of one window, right? You have to see that the quiet ego is something that we have to practice learning it. We have to practice listening to it. We have to practice being in what feeds our quiet ego. Fantasyland. It is important for us to dream of great things. It is important for us to strive for something bigger. When you're a child, you strive to be an adult. So what happens when you're an adult? What do you strive to be? Dead? Some, maybe. Some not. Some just want to live. So what is it when you're an adult? What do you want to be? Do you want to be a better adult? Or are you just going to keep breathing until that's it? Where's the sense of nature? Where's the sense of drive and passion? A lot of people have replaced their childhood cartoons and fantasies with addictions. This is where people get addicted to porn and addicted to relationships and addicted to gambling, because it gives them the sense of wonder of I don't know what's going to happen, and it's this But those things ruin your lives when you're in addictions. So it's about learning how to truly live out the actual dreams for yourself, and allowing this quiet ego to be something that is a language you continue to write. The same way that you would go to a course to learn how to make your language better, to improve your position in your job, is the same way that you also need to learn how to be in the right job and ask for your worth. Those are more of the quiet things. You know you need to speak better, but do you know that maybe you need to be in a different position because the company isn't offering you what you were asking for? Right? Or is it the essence of you never decided, now it's your time to decide? The quiet ego is an element of us that we often don't even look at. And some people will call it a shadow side, but there's nothing wrong with the quiet ego. And this is something I find that is extremely wrong, or maybe not wrong necessarily, but it gives you the wrong idea when you're constantly having to rid yourself of things. You shouldn't, this is not a healthy mindset. It's always about a replacement. When you see something that is not effective, how do you replace it? If it's not effective, how do you replace it? If there's a part of your ego that you're not happy with, how do you replace it instead of, oh, this is no longer good for me? Okay, that's great. Congratulations, you got there. Now, how are you going to replace it? Now, what is the positive way of healing yourself and moving yourself forward into a better thinking pattern, into a better heartfelt pattern, into a better existence for self? Healing is something that is literally you do naturally, but it's the tools that you use that will give you a better existence. You will live a better, freer, happier, more joyful life depending on how you choose to heal and evolve. Some people choose to heal by doing less of everything, and they just become a small container of themselves by the end of their life. These are the old people that are so stuck in their ways, and they say the same story every single time you go and see them. They have the same stories of their life, and they have the same thing to say about you when you were 10 as to when you're 30 odd, and you're still a child in their eyes, and you're like, but I'm a full adult. Those are the people who just made themselves smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller so that they could just live. When we walk into expansion, it means that we have to actually replace the things that were no good with something better instead of just cutting it off completely. For an example, for me, I found my understanding and my definition of love based upon how I was raised is not good. It's an element of fantasy and attachment instead of actually just the force of life coming through you. So different people will look at love in different ways, but the way I personally have loved in my life, it's no longer, I don't actually like to even express love. To me, it's so ingrained that love is no longer a part of my life. I have eradicated completely because to me, my definition of it's not worth it. Because anytime I decided to love someone, whether it would be a friend, a family member, or something, everything went south. And it's because of my definition and my stuff around it. So what I chose to do is get rid of that and just allow the flow of life to come through in each and every moment. That could be somebody else's definition of love. So I'm not here to tell you what is right and wrong, but I'm telling you that for me, this was a very huge step for me, was to let go of this thing that was plaguing every part of my life. And so there is this element that we need to do this with the things that we have quietly held on to. And for me, that was something that was a non-negotiable. Nobody was going to take love from me. That was the greatest thing of my life. But it happened to be the greatest addiction that held me into places that were not me. And so for me, I had to move out of that and get to a place where aloneness is actually what I've always been because of this love. I have always done energetically things, even though I am an expert in energy and understand a lot, there's a lot that I don't fully grasp because we are in an infinite world. I can get it, but there's a lot of blockages in a lot of different ways because it is something that is still I'm working through in my specific self. I am a genius in some factors of my life, and then other factors of my life, it's just something that I'm working through, because we all are these perfections in the making. So as the quiet ego comes forward and continually reminds you that it's keeping you there, how do you allow yourself moments of addressing your internal deep core values? Are they really the core values that assist you? Are they really a part of your personality? Is it really who you're made up to be? Are you really sure that that's a part of your soul? Are you really fully aware that it is just simply another program? And is it going to be okay if you look at it? Because I think that's the hardest thing. This quiet ego, the one that's silent, it doesn't say anything. It will sit there and it will stare at you for 10 years and you will never see it. But it is something that defines your very world. And it is why I personally have required other spiritual tools to help me understand the depths of my own self, because the quiet ego does not talk to the mind. It hides from the mind based upon how the whole world is programmed. Unless you're doing the work, I've been doing this for a very, very, very long time, and I still find new things that surprise me. It is immaculate how fascinating we are made. And the quiet ego is in the energy, it's inside of you, but it's something that you have just got so deep that you can't just look at it like a puzzle and rearrange it. This is why I have Hidden Mentor, because Hidden Mentor is me looking at that part of you, giving you the energetic truth of what that is. Now, I read very deeply, and I only read really deeply. I'd say more semi-deeply in my Hidden Mentor membership. If you want a more surface version, yet still profoundly deep of the things that you might not be seeing that are hidden around you, you can go to Infinite Royalty YouTube page. There is something so valuable about having the ability to read energy as it shows up. And when we ourselves are very deeply rooted within inside of our own soul, in our own energy, in our own power, we are geniuses in our mind and in our heart. Our quiet ego is the loudest thing about us, and yet we do not see it. It is sometimes the thing that hurts us the most in all areas of our life and makes things difficult. And it can be something simple like none of your relationships work, which is not simple, that's complex. But it's really fine details that I can tell you in a reading that you're doing. And then you can start to look at it And it'll stare back at you and be like, well, I've always been here. And you'll look and go, I had no idea. Because it's the quiet ego. It's not the arrogance. It's not the luxury. It's not the, this and that. It's the things that you are quote unquote humble about, or it's acceptable. So this is why Hidden Mentor is so valuable. It has changed my life to be able to read energy effectively as a profession, not just as I meet someone and I can see them. It's I can see what's going on in all of the world and how I need to see things and how to read them. Reading energy, there's a lot of rules to doing it so that you can read it in all truth, first of all. And second of all, there are places that are not meant to be read when you're not of a certain authority. You're not supposed to go certain places. And I'm very, very in tune with those things inside of you. And I follow your specific energetic blueprint. And you'll notice if you go onto my Infinite Royalty page and you listen to some of the things, there's actually readings where I'm like, hey, I can sense you don't want me to go there. So if you want me to go there, you can come back when you're ready. But this specific area of your life, I can tell you it's relationships, but I'm not going there. I'm backing off. So when I read, I know I have very powerful people that are attracted to what I do. So if there are parts of you that are closed off, I'm not reading those things. It's extremely important that you know if you're a part of a sacred community that has secrets, I won't be reading those things. If you're a part of a government organization and you have secrets, I won't be reading those things. It is a part of my integrity. I'm not going into those places. I am simply allowing you to say, I want to know more about myself in whatever area, whatever your internal desire and pull to have yourself read for. You're like, okay, I just don't know what's going on, right? And so you can just say, I don't know what it is, but I know that you can help me with it. And what happens is your energy is smart enough. Also, I have a framework. Once you are in the Hidden Mentor, what happens is you will just fill that in with your consciousness. And it's like a left out note for me in a specific place within a secure place, okay? And it's a place that we don't connect. There is no connection between the two of us. It is just me reading. So this is important for you because your security stays intact. And it's also important for me so that I am not connected or attached to you in any way, because it can be very invasive to read some of these energies. So when I stay disconnected, it allows me to just see things as the ones and the zeros and the A's and the B's and the C's, and I just have a conversation. But when there's connection, I will actually feel your feelings in my body, which I do not want. And this is why I do not connect when I read. It is extremely important that you understand it is like me reading off a script, right? And this takes a lot of time to actually do correctly, because most people want to feel all the feelings, and I don't use my sight and I don't use my body to read anything. It is a different aspect of myself that I have developed that is a long range ability to look and see. So this whole understanding of our quiet ego is something that is extremely difficult to access. But like I said, it's in every part of who you are. And these are where nobody else is going to be able to help you. There's very, very few people who are highly, geniusly intelligent and wealthy that even have access to it themselves, never mind other people. The deeper you are, the harder it is to find these things. And I am one of those very, 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 very deep persons who can be in certain energies and read it without all of the extra chaos that might be around it to hold it in place. Thank you for taking the time to understand yourself more. Understand the value of seeking to know who you are. To be the best that you can be in your business, in your life, in your humanness, in the soul or the energy, however you place it within yourself. It takes a lot of courage to work on yourself and to ask for a professional to assist you. And I look forward to sharing more information with you. However that may be, whether it is on this YouTube channel or whether it is on Infinite Royalty, or you decide to walk into membership.